What's up, gang? Welcome to Fed by Fire. I'm Christian Whitlow. So, today I just wanted to do something different. We're just going to kick it, and I'm going to give y'all a little life update and tell a story. So, right now, I'm still working. I'm in the process of, switching from night shift to day shift, still working my warehouse job and, doing the videos when I can. And, still trying to take care of community service, still trying to take care of the kids, but life is good. I can show y'all my badass Father's Day gift. I got the best wife ever. Y'all see this motherfucker right here? Here you go. Boom. Nah. But I've been killing weeds with it and shit. But yeah, so life's good. Everything's good. But I wanted to tell y'all a story about, because, even though I was born in Roanoke and, we lived outside of Roanoke for the most part, but, this is when I had just started coming to Roanoke. So on this particular night, we have to rewind a little bit. And, we have to rewind to the day before. So I had been hanging around some people, could say who, but they're dead now. And I had tried car fentanyl for the first time. And that stuff had me completely fucking folded. Folded like I've never been before. I've been folded, but I'm not folded for fucking half a day. I'd never felt like that since. And that's how, a lot of drugs worked for me. That first time is fucking magical and you're always chasing that. But it had me completely folded, sedated, barely functioning. I was so bad off. My girl, she was afraid to watch me, the dope whore I was with at the time, and they had to take me to my mom's to fucking watch me. But, once it wore off, all I could think about was finding more of that exact shit. But, coincidentally enough, the people, who I had tried it with and whatnot, one, had a big ass abscess on his fucking leg, and it looked like he was at death's door anyway. And, the other one, was pretty much on a walker, and these are not old people. The man was probably 40 and the girl, in her early 30s, but, that didn't stop me. All I could think about was finding more of that exact dope. So me and the girl, I started, we started, I couldn't get in touch with them. I called a million times. So I went back to the exact place I tried it. A random house. It kind of looks like a haunted house that you'd see in any other, haunted house movie. Creepy ass house. And I get up there, I'm trying to score, and what a man walks out, inching out, looking just like fucking Schmeagol from the Lord of the Rings. I swear. And, he looked, I tell him, I said, is what's his name here? And he's like, nah. And I was like, well, I'm looking for what he had. And he says, well, I got you. He takes my money up there. He comes back and gives me $300 worth of cake mix. And the motherfucker looking like he's from the Lord of the Rings should have been the first warning sign. But, this night wasn't going anywhere good. After that, I'm in a car, surrounded by people. We're all basically sick. And, I'm in the car with somebody that I just got robbed their $300. And, we're driving around. And the guy I gave the $300, automatically after I give it, he takes off on a bicycle, as they do. And, the car's temperature gauge started going up, overheating, and we stopped and put some water in it. It was okay. We maybe got 30 more feet. But, we broke down right in Southeast, right in front of the rescue mission. And people who know Roanoke know that. I live in Southeast right now. Not that particular part. Fuck no. But I didn't know Roanoke at the time. And, the temperature gauge shot up, and we pour water in. Steam's pouring out from under the fucking hood. And before I know it, we're stranded in the worst fucking neighborhood in this bitch, and I didn't even know it yet. And, at the time, I was still pretty new to the city, of course. I didn't know what streets were bad. I was just trying to get high. I didn't know the people. I didn't know anybody. I just knew that we were fucking stuck. Then things got real weird. Alright, we're sitting there, we're trying to figure out a solution, and out of nowhere, a woman comes out of nowhere. She's got long blonde hair, she's white, she's probably about 5'10", and this woman approached us, and she was clearly a schizophrenic. And, so where we broke down was right across from the homeless shelter, and she was trying to get into the shelter, but they had closed the doors that night on her. And, this lady was having a full-blown conversation with herself. If you guys have ever seen the movie Split, it was just like that. But one personality was sexually assaulting her, one was watching, and then one was the one doing it. So you could imagine how all that went down. And she kept saying we had a necklace in our console that was hers. The shit was wild. Eventually, this bitch would not get away from the car. Every time she gets near my window, I'm clicking a blowtorch at her. And, it was a sad thing. And, eventually, after hours, my ride even had to get out. And he's just a little country boy. He's never been in Roanoke, not this side of Roanoke anyway, and he fucking has to push the old lady away from his car, and it was just crazy because one of her personalities was watching it happen, another was carrying it out, and she kept pacing around us, yelling at invisible people, acting out the entire scenes that only existed in her head. But it was the middle of summer, hot as hell, and the car was dead. We were sick, and the woman would not leave us alone. And the crazy thing is, when you're living like that, none of it feels crazy, And, it just was a normal day, for me anyway, I thought. But, anyway, she would never leave us alone, and, eventually our car, it was done. We couldn't, get it going at all. We all tried, and our phones were dying as we spoke. And, the crazy part is when you're living that kind of life, none of it feels crazy while it's happening. Today, if somebody told me I spent $300 on mystery powder from a guy I'd never met, then broke down in a neighborhood that I was scared to even walk through, most people would think I lost my damn mind. But back then, it felt normal, and that's what addiction does. It keeps moving the goalpost until things that would have shocked the shit out of you 6 months earlier become just another Tuesday. And while we're waiting, people are starting to come out on porches, cars are slowing down, but nobody called the cops. They passed us, everybody seemed to be watching. Maybe some of that was just the paranoia from the mindset I was in. Maybe, some of it wasn't that. Some of it clearly was, a lot of attention that, we were bringing to the situation. And, it was like every time she'd stop screaming, she would start arguing with herself. At that point, we were basically homeless, staying in a tent behind a gas station anyway in life. Me and the, whatever you call I was with. But we eventually walked down to a gas station to charge my phone, trying to keep it live long enough to make a call. I finally get a hold of my cousin after what felt like fucking ever. And I, got enough battery to make that call. And I remember standing there praying that this motherfucker would answer. And, if any of you know me, my cousin's my lifeline. Shout out him. He's in rehab now. He's about to graduate. Fucking proud of him. But I was praying he'd answer that phone. He always saved me out of a lot of sketchy situations. But I didn't know what our next move was if he didn't answer the phone. And here's the part that really sticks with me. Standing in the heat, stranded in a bad neighborhood, broke, dope sick, getting harassed by a woman who's completely detached from reality. I still wasn't thinking about quitting. No way. I was thinking, this isn't that bad, I was thinking that, this isn't that bad. I wasn't thinking, look how bad my life has gotten. I was just thinking about getting that same dope again. I was thinking about, I wasn't thinking about whether we'd make it home, but I was thinking about whether we'd make it home before getting sick, whether the stuff, and we tried for hours to snort, to do all types of stuff with that fucking cake mix, and it did not do nothing. There was no trace of anything in there. And, I knew that we were out of options. I just got robbed, basically, the ride I'm with's money. And that's the part people don't understand about addiction, It's not that you don't see the chaos, you do. You're standing right in the middle of it. And you can't stop chasing the one thing that's causing it. Eventually my cousin answered the phone and came to get me, and I remember, seeing those headlights pull up and feeling like somebody had thrown me a fucking life preserver. And, the shitty part was he had no room in his back seat. I had to basically leave the guys that money that I just got took, and leave them, and I eventually, through jerry-rigging type deals, paid them off. But still, the story is a staple in my addiction, because this should have been the spot where I said, fuck this. But, when I think about it, at the time, I was living in a tent behind a BP, 2 towns over. So, and my mom was living in a hotel room. It was just a hard time, At that time, I thought I escaped a terrible night. But looking back, the overheating car wasn't the real problem. The neighborhood wasn't the real problem. The woman wasn't the real problem. The problem was the addiction that had got me there in the first place. Because no matter how many bad neighborhoods you leave behind, you can't drive away from the person you've become. And that's my story, you guys. I got some fire content coming your way. I got a fucking badass interview we're doing this weekend. So be on the lookout for that. I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.